The baby's cry echoed through the private hospital wing, but Dante Romano didn't move. His hands stayed buried in his pockets, his jaw locked tight as stone. The nurse extended the tiny bundle toward him. His daughter, born 3 minutes ago, and he turned his back. "Mr. Romano, would you like to?" "No." One word. Final. The kind of word that had ended lives. But then the doctor stepped forward, a file trembling in his hands. "Sir, there's something you need to know about her blood work. Something about her mother." Dante's world stopped. Because the woman who'd just given birth, the woman he'd married in a cold contract 6 months ago, had been keeping a secret. And whatever was written in that file was about to change everything. This is a story about secrets, second chances, and a love that was hidden in plain sight. If you want to know how Dante Romano went from refusing to hold his baby to becoming the most devoted father in New York, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view helps us bring you more stories like this. 6 months earlier, Elena Martinez had signed away her freedom with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The penthouse office overlooked Manhattan like a kingdom, and Dante Romano sat behind his desk like the king he was. Black suit, cold eyes, a presence that sucked the air from the room. "You understand the terms?" His voice was smooth, controlled, the voice of a man who'd never heard the word no. Elena forced herself to meet his gaze. 1 year of marriage. You get legitimacy for your business dealings. I get enough money to save my brother's life. Correct. He slid the contract across the mahogany. You'll live in my home. Attend events as my wife. In public, we're the perfect couple. In private, you stay out of my way. She'd taken the pen. What choice did she have? Miguel was dying, and the experimental treatment cost more than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes working double shifts at the diner. "There's one more thing," Dante had said, his eyes never leaving hers. "No emotional attachment. This is business." Understood. But understanding and reality were 2 different things. The first night in his mansion, a sprawling estate in the Hamptons that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood, Elena had felt like an imposter. The housekeeper had shown her to her room, separate from Dante's. Of course. She'd unpacked her 3 suitcases of belongings, but seeing it, "Dante, please," her voice broke. "I can't." He wouldn't turn around. His shoulders were rigid, his hands clenched behind his back. "I can't be what she needs. You already are." "No." The word was harsh. "I'm not capable of it, Elena. You knew what I was when you married me." The doctor cleared his throat. "Mr. Romano, with all due respect, you need to see this." "I don't need to see anything except the exit." But there was something in Dante's voice. Something that sounded almost like fear. "The baby's blood type is AB negative," the doctor said quietly. "Extremely rare. Less than 1% of the population." "So?" Dante still hadn't turned. "So is yours, according to your file." "But there's more." The doctor hesitated. "We ran a comprehensive panel as part of standard newborn screening. There were some genetic markers that seemed unusual, so I cross-referenced with Mrs. Romano's medical records from her intake." Elena's heart started pounding. "What are you talking about?" The doctor looked between them. "Mrs. Romano, your mother, Rosa Martinez. Did she ever mention anything about your father? Anything at all?" "He left before I was born." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "She never talked about him." "Did she ever mention the name Antonio Romano?" The room went silent. Dante turned slowly. His face had gone white. "What did you just say?" "Antonio Romano." The doctor held out the file with shaking hands. "Your father, Mr. Romano. Based on the genetic markers, There's a 99.9% probability that he was also Mrs. Romano's father. Elena couldn't breathe. That's not possible. We're half-siblings? Dante's voice was dead. No. The doctor shook his head quickly. No, I'm sorry, I explained that poorly. Antonio Romano is listed as your father, Mr. Romano, but based on the genetic evidence and age records, that's impossible. He would have been 12 years old when you were born. Dante moved then, crossing the room in 3 strides and ripping the file from the doctor's hands. His eyes scanned the pages, his jaw working. What your father, the man you knew as your father, really was your uncle, the doctor said softly. Antonio Romano had a brother. Marcus Romano was 18 when you were born. Your biological father. Neighbors said he came to the funeral, stood in the back, and was never seen again. 15 years ago, Elena said. Her hand tightened around Rosa. I was 17. I didn't notice a stranger at the funeral. I was too devastated. He left something for you, though. Luca pulled out a sealed envelope. Building manager kept it. Said Mark paid him to hold it until you turned 25 and came asking questions. You never came asking, but... Elena stared at the envelope. Her name was written on it in careful script. 25 had been 3 years ago. Dante took it, his eyes dark. May I? She nodded. She wasn't sure she had the strength to open it herself. He broke the seal carefully. Inside was a single letter and a photograph. Dante looked at the photo first, and something in his face shifted. He held it up. The man in the picture was young, maybe 25. Dark hair, dark eyes, a smile that looked almost familiar. He was standing in front of a Bronx apartment building, his arm around a pregnant woman with kind eyes and Elena's face. That's my mother, Elena breathed. But I've never seen that photo. She kept one picture of my father, but it was too damaged to make out his face. She said he was gone before I was born. She was protecting him, Dante said. Protecting you both. He unfolded the letter. His voice was rough as he read aloud. Elena, if you're reading this, it means you survived. That's all I ever wanted, for you to survive what being a Romano would have done to you. I'm your father, Marcus Romano, and I'm a coward. I ran from my family, from the life Antonio wanted me to lead. I met your mother and I thought I could be free. But you can never be free of blood. When you were 3, Antonio found us. He gave me a choice. Come back and pretend you never existed, or watch him erase you and your mother from the world. He showed me what he was capable of. The bodies. The families destroyed. So I came back. I let Antonio declare me dead and resurrect me as his puppet. I did terrible things, Elena. Things I can never take back. All while Antonio reminded me that one wrong move would mean your death. Your mother never knew I was alive. It was safer that way. But I watched you. Always. The construction worker. The landlord. The stranger at the funeral who couldn't even claim his own grief. By the time you read this, I'll either be dead or too far gone for saving. Don't look for me. Don't mourn me. Just know that every choice I made was to keep you breathing. You have a brother, Elena. Half-brother. His name is Dante, and if Antonio raised him the way he wanted to raise me, then Dante is dangerous. Stay away from him. Stay away from all of it. Be free. That's all I ever wanted. Your father, Marcus. The silence in the room was deafening. Dante's hands were white-knuckled on the letter. He suffered for 30 years, believing he was protecting you. And I, his voice broke. I was the weapon Antonio held over his head. Every time Marcus resisted, Antonio probably reminded him, "Dante is loyal. Dante will do what needs to be done, even to a girl in the Bronx." "You didn't know," Elena said. "I should have known." Dante stood abruptly, pacing. "All those times Antonio sent me to handle problems. What if one of them was about Marcus? What if I—" "Stop." Elena's voice was sharp. "We can't think like that. We'll drown." Rosa stirred. "When Marcus abandoned you—" "Marcus didn't abandon me. You stole me, just like you stole his life, his identity, his freedom." Dante pulled out his phone. "Which is why I've made some calls." Antonio froze. "What did you do?" "I transferred all of Marcus's shares, the ones you've been holding in trust for 3 decades, into Elena's name, along with the Bronx properties, the offshore accounts, everything that should have been his." "You can't." "I already did. And I called a family meeting. Every captain, every soldier. They'll be here in an hour." Dante smiled, and it was terrifying. "We're going to vote on new leadership." "You're staging a coup." Antonio's voice was venomous. "I'm staging a correction. You're retiring, Antonio. Effective immediately. You'll keep your life and a pension. But your reign is over. They'll never follow you over me. They'll follow the man who unified the Romano bloodline, who married his cousin, his family, and produced an heir that carries both Marcus's line and yours." Dante's eyes were hard. "Or they'll follow the old man who lied for 30 years and tried to erase his own brother from history. Your choice how this gets presented." Elena watched Antonio's face cycle through rage, calculation, and finally, resignation. "Marcus always was the smart one," Antonio said bitterly. "I thought I'd beaten it out of his son. But you're just like him, choosing love over power." "No," Dante said. "I'm choosing love and power. That's what you never understood. They're not opposites. They're multipliers." Antonio looked at baby Rosa one last time. Something almost like regret crossed his face. "She has his eyes," he said quietly. "Tell Marcus. Tell him I'm sorry. If you ever find him. We already have." Luca spoke from the doorway. "He's downstairs. We found him 2 hours ago." Elena's world tilted. "My father is here? Alive?" Dante's voice was sharp. "Barely," Luca said grimly. "Antonio's retirement home was more like a prison. He's been there for 10 years. Since he tried to run." The rage that crossed Dante's face was apocalyptic. He turned on Antonio. "You said he was free. You said—" "I said he made his choice." Antonio didn't flinch. "He tried to come back for the girl after her mother died. I couldn't allow it. Elena thought she might be sick. You kept my father prisoner? I kept him alive." Antonio straightened his jacket. "Which is more than he deserved." Security appeared at the door, Dante's men, not Antonio's. The shift in power was already complete. "Get him out of here," Dante said, "and bring Marcus up. Now." As they escorted Antonio out, he paused. "You'll regret this, Dante. Love makes you vulnerable. And in our world, vulnerability is death." "Then maybe," Dante said, "it's time for a new world." Marcus Romano looked nothing like the photo. The man they wheeled into the hospital room was skeletal. His dark hair shot through with gray. But his eyes, those were the same. Just family. Antonio wasn't invited. Standing at the grave, holding Rosa, Elena finally let herself cry. For the father she'd never known. For the years stolen. For the love that had survived despite everything. Dante's arm came around her. "He's free now." "We all are," she said. The following week, Dante called the family meeting. Every captain, every soldier. He stood before them with Elena at his side, Rosa in her arms. "Things are changing," he said. "We're moving out of the shadows. Legitimizing. The violence stops. The fear stops. We're building something new." There was resistance. Of course there was. But when Dante explained the truth, about Marcus, about the 30 years of lies, about the baby who carried both Romano lines, something shifted. "We've been at war for generations," he said. "Fighting over territory, over power, over pride. And what did it get us? My father spent 30 years in hell. My wife grew up without a father. Our daughter almost grew up without hers." He looked at Rosa. "That ends now. We protect family. We protect community. And we do it without becoming monsters." It wasn't unanimous. 3 captains walked. But the rest stayed. And slowly, so slowly, they began to believe in something different. 2 years later, Elena stood on the balcony of their penthouse, watching the sun set over Manhattan. Inside, she could hear Dante reading to Rosa, something about a princess who saved herself, because that's what Romano women did. The business was legitimate now. Mostly. They'd kept some of the old connections, the ones that helped people, protected neighborhoods, kept families safe. But the violence was gone. The fear was gone. Antonio had died 6 months ago. Heart attack. Alone in the retirement home Dante had provided. Elena had gone to his funeral. She wasn't sure why. Maybe to prove she'd survived him. Maybe to forgive him. Maybe just to say goodbye to the old world. Marcus's grave was in a cemetery in the Bronx, next to Rosa Martinez. Sometimes Elena would take Rosa, her daughter, to visit them. She'd tell her stories about her grandfather, about his courage, about how love could survive anything. The sliding door opened. Dante stepped out, Rosa in his arms. The toddler was clutching a stuffed bear that had somehow become her favorite thing in the world. "Mama!" Rosa reached for her. Elena took her daughter, breathing in that baby smell that was already fading. Growing up too fast. "I was thinking," Dante said, wrapping his arms around both of them. "Rosa should know where she comes from. All of it. The good and the bad." "She will," Elena promised.